So if I come over to the kitchen, that is your cue to start eating. Cat. Anyway, what's up guys? So today I thought I would comment on that one story of that girl on TikTok who created a short video about how she feels now that she has her first full-time job. And I, of course, naturally decided to look at the comments to see what people were saying. And it looked like it was pretty divided. I'm happy and proud of her at the same time, and I'm hoping that I can explain my sentiment. So first and foremost, I have never been an advocate of you being full-time. I don't believe in full-time employment. I believe it's stupid. I believe it's inhumane. It's a form of modern-day slavery. It's something that I have no desire of partaking in, because even as someone who has been part-time, but the reason being because I have two things on the side that I'm trying to manage and grow so that maybe I can have my own thing going on, given that I don't have an education. So in the workforce, there is no hope for me of moving up. And to be honest with you, it's not something I want to do. I'm thinking, okay, this stuff on the side is what I would ideally like to have working for me, and maybe continue to be part-time until these things flourish. And if they don't flourish, then all right, I guess I get to be part-time for the rest of my life and eventually homeless if I lose the support that I get by splitting rent down the middle. I think that the idea of full-time being normalized is incredibly toxic, and I'm just appalled by how people just act like this is okay and like this is fine. And I don't think that people who are invested in the full-time life simply don't sit to think about what it's actually costing them, because I think you're too tired to think about what it's actually costing you. And what I mean by that is, the man, from the male perspective, you guys typically don't mind doing that type of thing because A, you're built for that, and B, I guess it's a social expectation of you. And if you genuinely feel okay and find great pleasure in doing that, then by all means, be consumed by it and keep rolling at it. However, I would hope that you also consider the potential consequences that has, because you are paying with probably your most powerful resource, which is your time, and you investing time in that means that you're not investing time elsewhere. So if you're a man who's going to be very career driven like that, and it's going to take you 8, 12, 16 hours, then consider what that does to your personal life. Are you okay with limiting your interactions to just being revolving around work, and maybe when you go home you're by yourself? Fine, but don't expect for just about anybody to be okay with settling down with someone who's going to be away most of the time. You may find someone who's interested in that type of thing. I'm just saying that it's not ideal, because at least in my experience as a human, I like attention. I would need attention. And that's why I wouldn't be really interested in somebody who like wastes away grinding at work, because I'm thinking, okay, what does that leave for me? Like, me being in an empty home is not really ideal. And on top of that, I am not interested in having kids, but I'm definitely interested in having a relationship that is long-term with a man. And I wouldn't be okay with that. And that's why I couldn't be chasing someone who's all about, money and stuff, because I find that very empty and dull, and it doesn't really give me any kind of benefit. Money, resources, ensure your comfort, but I'm not afraid of continuing to do what I'm doing, like continuing to work for what I, as an individual, wish and want. And I'm also not interested in submitting myself to things that just aren't gonna make me happy. Investing my time and work is not something that ever makes me feel full. And for a female to be working full-time, I have never believed in a female submitting herself to that type of thing. I don't think that we're designed for it. I don't think it should be expected of us. And it's one of those things that I can say that in the olden days, if it wasn't expected of us, or if we didn't even have a right to do that, when I think about it critically as a modern person, I'm thinking if their intent with proposing that is see women sincerely, you're just not built for it, you're not supposed to, it's not good for you, it's not healthy for you. If that was their intention, if they were protecting me from that, then sure, that's great. I only have issues with that from the perspective of me becoming a dependent adult, say an adult who's dependent on a man. I shouldn't have to be dependent on a man for my survival. It would be ideal, but if this man turns out to be a scummy asshole, I should be able to get away from that situation. I should be able to get away from that situation with my own resources, with my own money. But I know people, and we all know people at some point who have done this, which is you hold on to somebody because you have no way out. You don't have any skills, you don't have any money of your own, and that is an incredibly precarious and sad situation to be in. Why would you put yourself in that situation and allow that to happen? So at least I would like to have a little something going for me so that I can back myself up in case that happens. You never go into a relationship thinking, I'm going into a relationship with this asshole who's going to destroy me. You never get to see someone's true colors in some instances until it's really late. And that's incredibly sad. That is never the victim's fault. What I do consider is your responsibility is to think about things like that. Like if there were an emergency, would you be able to respond? Now, me personally, like I just said, if I can avoid it forever, I am never going to be a full-time worker because I understand that it's not ideal for me. It's depressing for me. It's going to be frustrating for me. It's going to be painful. The cost is going to be too great. And I think that me being bullied into submission into a full-time job just because benefits are linked to employment and investment opportunities are linked to employment is an incredibly scummy thing to do. Why are you trying to manage your workforce as a nation by telling people that although we're the richest country, this is the way things need to be? You have to waste away at a job for 30 to 40 years. Even then, you don't know about the future. You may not even count with your retirement the way that you were planning for it to be. And we all have known of people whose lives just turn around, and sometimes they have to change their path a little bit, and some stuff may happen prematurely. Let's say health problems. Even if you were regularly checking on yourself, something may show up that may derail you, and who knows, maybe you have to exit your career a little sooner. We all may know the story of that one person who maybe held on to a job because retirement benefits. That's so appalling. That's so manipulative, so controlling, so scummy. And like I have said before, I would rather die from a health problem than being like, well, fear of not being able to go to the doctor and fear of medical bills. I gotta have insurance. It may look like a very depressed and empty way of looking at life, but try to understand why I say that and where I'm coming from. I am a person who tries to be true to herself. In fact, I don't have to try to be true to myself. I am true to myself. When I'm displeased, I express it and I show it and I let it known and I admit to myself that that's the way of things, and it's quite liberating. I am at my happiest, I am in my element when I am behaving in the way that completely lines up with who and what I am. If I'm displeased with how neglected I am being emotionally and mentally and presence-wise, I will express it. And that's why I have expressed things about my daddy issues. I have expressed things about my mom and some of the things that I feel like, man, if only circumstances would have been different. I'm glad that she hustled, but at the same time, I was seeing what it was costing her, and I always resented that a little bit. I always thought, oh, this home wasn't supposed to be broken. This home was supposed to have had two adults managing it, but only one adult with her capacity and whatever she could offer manage this home, and we made it. However, that had consequences, and I tried to, in this very channel, go over what those consequences were and really not leave any stone unturned. And it's refreshing to see that this case manifests in other people, and other people are admitting that that is the way of things. And it's sad. If I know that about a home, about a home's management, then why would I continue that snowball effect that keeps those complications going? For two adults managing a home to be full time, I think that is always going to have detrimental consequences because of time. This girl kept expressing how she doesn't have time for anything, and people kept bullying her, saying things like, well, try working at this thing that is worse than what she's doing, or try doing this thing that has a worse schedule than what she was describing. Well, try doing this and that and being alone and whatever the fuck. The empathy. Where is the empathy? Where is the sympathy? Why are we like that? When I heard that girl having her meltdown the way she had it, I thought, you know what? You go, girl. Thanks for expressing yourself. Thanks for being honest, because this whole go to college so that you can land a good job that's full-time with benefits, it's like so highly decorated. It's like very prestigiously presented. I forgot the perfect word that I wanted to use for that, but basically they sold you this idea that life would be so great if you have this job instead of a mediocre one. And I'm thinking, I have felt pretty content working my mediocre job, but it's because I knew who I was, what I needed, what I wanted, and what my values were. And my values have never exceeded what I currently possess. And I'm hoping that it never does. And the health element is the thing that I suspect is going to catch up with me and bring me down one day. And I have expressed to those close to me what they ought to do for when that happens, if that happens. And I really hope that they follow through, because I have a reason for my sentiments in that situation. And like I've said before, to me, the point of being alive is to relieve misery. But I'm residing in a place that does not believe in that stuff. To me, this overworking yourself is amplifying misery. But we like to normalize it as, well, at least I'm making the money, at least I have the benefits, at least I get to drive the fancy car, live in the fancy side of town, and all that stuff. And I'm like, but what is that doing to address the issues that our communities face? The stressed people, the overworked people, the Karens that I'm always complaining about here on the channel. They're supposed to be living fancy lives. They're supposed to be having great careers. I mean, I see them with their little medical badges or wearing their scrubs in some cases, and other folks that you just know come from money, and that's what I'm supposed to envy. You go to a retail place and treat me without any respect or any dignity, even though I'm providing you with a service. It's you who needs me at that moment in time, and you don't have the decency to be respectful of me. And then I had someone share with me, this is a person who I want to say works at a hospital. I'm not sure if I told you guys this story, but basically this guy was coming out of the hospital, and there was someone who had just checked out of the hospital asking him for money. He didn't have any cash. He said no. And then the guy who was the beggar called this guy an asshole. See what I mean? So even if you pay your way through college and land this amazing job to where you buy your reputation and all of those accolades, you're still gonna be disrespected. So how is that different? How is your life different than mine? I think that you living a luxury life with the bigger income, it just means that you have bigger problems. And then my bigger problems would be, okay, say if I landed some kind of medical emergency, then because I don't have my life together in my career and having health insurance and stuff, then that's gonna wreck me. Well, it can't wreck me if the meds don't ever put their hands on me, which I don't have any intention of doing. If something happens to me, I'm not planning on going to the doctor. You guys have no idea how many things I have survived on my own, how many pains I have endured that fortunately went away. But I thought, shit, this is the night that I'm gonna die. That's how bad I have been ill before. And you know what I didn't do? I didn't see no fucking doctor. At least I have my youth backing me up for a little bit, and I know this is finite. So when that moment is up, then that means I'm entirely up as well. And I'm not afraid of looking at life like that. I look at it as, okay, I'm gonna die, being real to myself, and maybe, fucking maybe, my particular death could be a catalyst that inspires someone who hears my story to be like, you know what, she died so needlessly, but at least she died standing her ground. She wasn't bullied into doing something that she didn't believe in or didn't want to do because of fear of not having money or being in the streets or being without health insurance. She endured pain. Damn, she could have used a little ass injection in modern days that would have mitigated that. But you know what? Respect. Just respect. When I hear the way that people express themselves about this girl negatively, it's like, well, yeah, nobody tells you. My parents have never told me about what they actually do in their day because I guess they never really stopped to think about how beneficial it would be to share with your kid what it is that you actually go through. Like, had my mom told me with words what she actually endures, I would have been like, you know what, maybe me being a teacher wouldn't be the best path for me, because I could see it. I knew that she had to bring work home to do planning and grade shit, and she wasn't getting paid for that. The support that she lacked in other ways as well, and why she was stressed. And I thought, you know, all I see about my mom is she's mad on the weekdays, or looks mad in the weekdays. Like me as a kid, I perceived her stress as her being unhappy. I studied my mom's stress for a long time, and I said to myself, okay, what was stressing her out? Having kids. Okay, how about if I don't have them? Because to begin with, I don't like kids. So I'm gonna be true to myself there. I have not liked kids since I was a kid myself. And I knew other kids who were like, I can't wait to be a mom. And I'm like, I don't know how you know that you wanna be a mom, but I just know that for me, having kids is not it. And to this day, I still feel the same way. When it comes to having a home, I thought I really do not need a fancy house, because on top of that, as much as I like to be in a fixed place, I know that life is not a guarantee. I would like to be able to do what I have been doing forever, which is, okay, for the past 20 years, every time I have needed to move or needed to go somewhere, I never had anything really tying me down. Everything that I had is very easy to transport. You guys have seen my furniture or lack thereof. My tables are not even real tables. They're those foldable fucking metal ones that you see at Walmart, looking like little sticks and tubes. And I'm not embarrassed by that. That is my social status. That is what I can afford. And I'm not going to spend on fancy looking furniture that if I have to move, I cannot just throw away because it was only like $20. I'm gonna have to like stress out over the fact that I can't call it an investment, but I spent maybe $1,000 on this furniture set. It's like, nah, you know, these $20 I could go into the dumpster and just toss it. You know, that's what I'm happy with. My necessities are fulfilled in the same manner that you have a bed to go to at nighttime. I have a bed to go to at nighttime. You have a table. I have a table. You have a bathroom. I have a bathroom. Just because it looks different, it doesn't mean that it's not getting the job done. And I don't know about you guys, but sometimes even when you are from a fancy socioeconomic status, your hygiene may not be the greatest. I have heard some shocking things about some people, and then I was able to prove it for myself. And I'm like, how is it that you have like this high income and you're kind of rotting alive? You're not taking care of yourself. Is that something else? Another issue that we need to address, because I think your hygiene is something that you ought to be concerned with. See what I mean? So this girl having a meltdown over not having time for things, I hope that she doesn't mean it in the sense of bullshitting. when she has free time, because I think that that's never a good thing. I think that your free time should be to work on yourself, but in a practical way. For me, usually most of my time is wasted at the gym, because at the gym I work out. I may occasionally use some of the hydro massage beds, and then I take a very fancy shower, head to toe, including hair, and I feel great. I feel refreshed, and that takes me around 3 hours, counting the commute to the gym and me getting showered and lotioned up and taking care of my hair and working out, cooling down a little bit from it, the 10 minutes of the hydro, things like that. And after that, it's either I have a plan as to what I'm going to eat, which is hopefully a snack, or I'm like, okay, tonight is going to be one of those nights in which I'm just gonna have to buy food, because otherwise I'm gonna have to make a mess in the kitchen, and that's not ideal. So as my life changed ever so slightly, I had to make adjustments. Like, you guys know my story of how I used to cook, but now I just can't. When was I able to cook? When I did not have my 2 little businesses on the side that I was trying to manage. And then I said, okay, unfortunately, I'm gonna have to sacrifice that. But what can I do to adjust my diet in a way to where my body doesn't have to suffer so much from that? You know, I have discovered that the kind of life that I'm living is a life of sacrifice. It's no different than the life of the full-timer. And I hate that people who are part-time get such a bad rap. It's like, well, you're just part-time. What do you mean you don't have time? What do you mean you're complaining about this and that? And I'm like, first of all, I don't have to explain to you what it is that I'm doing. But second of all, even if I described it, maybe I wish to have time off so that I'm not overworked and stressed and dying at 40 or 45 from fucking high blood pressure like you are. You know, like, I hate to say it, but there are a lot of people who are dying young. I have heard recently a story of a manager who passed away. He was only like 43, 44 years old from fucking a heart attack. That's not normal. But here we are. And I have seen some of my peers who are around my age just looking older and tired and too tired and stressed to function. I don't think that's normal. I think what's normal is for you to feel great, to have energy, to not be in chronic pain, to not be falling asleep at fucking 8 p.m. when someone is talking to you, something like that. You should have a life out there that you can look forward to going to without having to scramble. You see how people drive like dumbasses, running red lights, deliberately rushing, passing you, honking at you, getting in wrecks. Their cars are all beat up and shit. I think what's normal is for your car to be intact. Here you are breaking it apart or buying a new one every year. What decisions can you make to where, if you value money so much, you can hold on to it as much as possible, as opposed to, ooh, I gotta sign up for this subscription and this subscription and this and this and this and that. It's like, we all want so many things, and we gotta accept that we won't be able to have them all at the same time. But the modern person is saying, if I keep hustling and hustling and grinding, I will be able to have all of those things at the same time and when I'm young. Life is fucked up and it's incredibly unfair, especially if you're someone who comes from nothing and has no resources. But in a case like that, I would urge you to reevaluate your values, reconsider what it is that you deem important. For me, I avoid bills the same way that the devil avoids the cross. And maybe that's what has helped me live a very simple, relaxed, and part-time life. But also during my time off that being part-time kind of provides, I'm trying to do something for myself on the side too. It's not like I'm just lying on my back bullshitting. I set aside maybe an hour to work on videos because it's something that I enjoy. I find it fun. It's a great avenue for me. It's my favorite hobby. So I will continue to do this. In case you wonder, well, how do you have time to make videos and do all those other things? Trust me, it takes effort, and that's why sometimes I have to disappear from you guys for about 2, 5, 6 days sometimes, and then come back, and other times I'm like, okay, let me go back to my hobby because I genuinely like it. And there is a little while when I can go and I can post videos daily, sometimes multiple times a day. I plan for that shit. Or sometimes the video that I'm posting today is one that I shot 2 days ago, and I have been editing it whenever I have time. But yeah, you guys, I think that we should be empathetic when someone expresses misery about the state of work, the state of being a full-time employee. We are modern people with modern people desires. I am part of the video game generation. I thought that I was going to play video games for the rest of my life because I thought it was fun, it was cool. I thought that I would always have time for that. And when I was a kid, I was never thinking about how the life that I knew at the time was going to change. Honestly, it's not something that I was really being prepared for anyway. When you have kids like these, who were probably born and raised in a home where they were neglected because both of their parents had to grind away, you cannot expect them to have that hustling mindset. You just can't. And as opposed to being like, you're weak, just be empathetic. Sure, I do criticize some of the people who are young who I work with, that I'm like, shit, you don't think I earned my position after working all these years and the income that I make, you know, for holding on to my job? Something that you don't know how to do since this is your 4th job in a year. Of course, I'm going to have some perks that you don't get to enjoy because you have trouble committing to something. But you know, those are the little things that I get on to about the young people. But at the same time, when it comes to the work culture in general, I'm right there with them. And if you think that I'm weak and irresponsible, you can go ahead, have your little opinion. But at least, like I've said before, I have felt this way since forever. And I am glad that I haven't changed, because I haven't changed into something that I know is not me. I know I don't want. I know I'm not gonna like. And I'm not having to find out through force. There's nothing that I hate more than someone trying to impose their will onto me. And I think that that is the greatest show of strength. Would you like it if someone was trying to define for you how your life should be, how your life should be conducted, even though you feel deep down that is not what you can do, that is not who you are, that's not what you can withstand? But, well, when I was your age, I fucked myself worse than you did, so you gotta do it too. Like, no. What's the point here as a society? What is the point of everything that we're doing if it's not aiming to be more comfortable? But instead, I see people being more consumed and worried about investments and the future of money and this and that. Like, how empty and shallow is that? Money, benefits, retirement, what is happening in the now, all the things that you're describing is stuff about the future. And I get it, the future matters, it's important to plan for the future, but don't forget to live now. You all are talking in a way that to me it sounds like you're waiting for the future to get here so that you can live the way that you wanted decades ago, but you couldn't do it because decades ago you were planning to build for the future that you have now, but you have so little fucking time left. Maybe change your values up a little bit, and that way you don't have to be worried about making quadrillions of some fucking technology that you're investing in so that maybe when you're 30 or 40 you can quit and start living more fully. I don't know, maybe you don't need to travel. Maybe you don't need to have a trash diet so that you can have money to continuously check into a hospital. Maybe you don't need to have a shit ton of money to buy the latest of tech all the time. This phone still works fine, doesn't it? Hold on to it. Why do you have to be so fucking consumeristic? You guys should see videos about the fucking Amazon returns. You clowns are crazy. How do you have so many things to return daily? That's wasteful. This fucking consumeristic society should disgust you. But no, you gotta be full-time and have benefits so you have money to consume and try to prolong your life while you're at it. That makes zero sense to me. What I chose is fidelity to myself. Sure, I want to live. Sure, I need money. Sure, I need a job. Sure, I like my family and my relationships. But you know what? They cannot interfere with my core, my being. And what I like is to feel great and not feeling overexploited. That's what I chose. At least my mom heard that and she said, you know what? I do not object to supporting you. And what are we hearing? Some people out there going like, well, I'm having to move in with my parents because the cost of living is so expensive and crazy. And at least parents have embraced their kids coming back for the most part from the stories that I have heard. And I'm thinking maybe you shouldn't have left your home from the start. But I know that most of your parents are eager for you to get out of the house, only for a couple years down the road for them to have a need and then desire to have you back in the house so that you can be their free assistant. Is that normal? Is that cool? So anyways, you guys, that's it for me. Thank you so much for tuning in. I undoubtedly do not expect for all of you hustlers to agree with me. I don't do this looking for validation or looking for people to agree with me. Like I have said before, this is a replacement of my journal. This is the way that I have expressed myself for a long time. And I like that we are hearing more voices out there. I love telling stories. And because of that, I will enjoy listening to other people's stories. And if this young girl feels that way, let's find a way to support her so that other people don't have to find out like her how crazy this is. If you're someone who's full-time and you enjoy it and you like it, fine. But also tell people what it's costing you if you have taken the time to think critically about it. Because maybe you love what you're doing so much that you don't realize how what you do may not be something that someone else can do. And it just doesn't work. Express yourself too about how you may end up knowing the people at work better than the people in your own house. Are you proud of that? And I don't know, maybe if you stop being away from home so much, maybe you don't feel inclined to feel attracted to other people and ruin your home. Just putting it out there. Where is your fidelity? What are you faithful to? The job, your home, or yourself?